My best ever trades. Hi, it's Charlie giving you Saturday's video. So this video is really about, I think as a trader you evolve as the decades go by, and this video is really about the way that my trading has evolved over the last 10 years. And so really, I've outside of the financial crisis during that period, I was pretty much predominantly day trading. Once we got the other side of the financial crisis, I was swing trading as well as day trading. And then really, the swing trading, one thing I noticed is when I started the first trading challenge that I did is how where the profits came from in the in the trading challenge, the first one I did, which started in 2013. And although the day trading did contribute to the overall profits, the lion's share of the overall profits over that first 2.5 year period came from swing trading. And so I guess that was how it sort of materialized. And so there was like this first trade that I did. If I put this on, this is on the Dow. This is back in 2014, in fact. But this was my first, really sizable profit of a trade. So a very sizable gain. And I'd got into the trade. Doesn't matter what the reasons were, but it was a short trade. It was just literally down to here, and I had a downside target down about halfway down this downside, down this bar here. Not at the low, but about halfway down. And it was a fascinating trade. It was a fascinating experiment with my traders at the time. A lot of the traders just jumped out, couldn't stay in the trade. You look at it now and you think, oh yeah, that was a nice trade, but there was lots of bounces through all of this. I think it was either on the Dow or the S&P. And so this was my first really bulky, heavy, big, singular swing trade. And so that's a standout one because I remember this one very well. Then there's a lot of swing trades you do that are, sort of vanilla, as I call them, vanilla trades. But then if I go to fast forward to, I'm going to go to that the next big trade that I remember, and there were always nice swing trades, but that come along. But the next trade was big, sizable trade. Was this trade on the euro dollar right at the beginning of 2017, and the market was highly bearish. The euro had been coming down against the dollar. Sentiment was very negative. It got to 103.5. Everyone was expecting it to come down to parity. Everyone's calling for this to come down at that point. What happens? It actually starts to turn up. And I didn't run it all. It wasn't run all the way up to here. The target was, I think my final target was actually around about 114. But I was in right from down there in the around 104 or so from the initial entries. So that ended up becoming a sizable trade through there as well. So, and probably again one of my larger trades. So I always remember these larger trades. I have lots of swing trades which don't actually necessarily become huge trades. I was in a trade, fun enough, I was in a trade from up here and ran this trade down here. This was into 2018, and you'd say, oh, that was a nice trade. Yeah, it was, but it wasn't a sizable one. The sizable ones are the ones that I get into and I get to add into. This one wasn't a trade like that, so it was just what I would call more of a vanilla swing trade. So it's the trades that you get into where you get to add into the positions as well, the ones that become the bigger trades. But don't get me wrong, there's there's always nice trades that do come along. This trade here in 2000, Sorry, my phone rang then. Wife was calling. So yeah, this trade here was a really decent, solid trade through 2020 on the long side through um, from getting in somewhere down here in the May. So yeah, it would have been somewhere down in this range. Um, Coming out up here, then getting in through this whole zone here, and then coming out at the top there, or close to the highs anyway. You very rarely get out at the highs, so that was a decent trade, and then this downside move here became a really decent trade. But don't get me wrong, there's always stop outs within these trades, so not so much through this upside trade, but just getting into this short took me about 4 goes to get it right, to get into this short here. And even within the short, there was some fresh entries that got stopped out. I got entered in here. It started coming down, came all the way back up, stopped me out, and then we ended up getting back in over here, and then I had a really good run. So overall, a really good profitable period. But there's always going to be stop outs along the way. And then if we come into 2022, there were some really nice trades in 2022. But again, there was plenty of losses in 2022, but some nice trades. But none of those were the biggest. But then, fun enough, the irony was that at the end of 2022, after the euro had bottomed and we'd got out right down here on our last short down here of this run here, and then over here ended up getting into a position on the long side, and the long side trade ended up becoming my biggest singular trade of the year for 2022. So there's just a few examples of these bigger trades, and these are the sorts of trades that don't just make your month, they make your 6 months, or potentially even make your year. So my point with this is that as you evolve as a trader, of course, taking trades and being in and out all of the time becomes for me became less interesting. It's my journey, so became less interested doing that sort of thing and looking for these bigger picture sort of trades where I get into and then you try and run the trade. I find much more interesting, mentally stimulating, and all of that. But again, that's my personal journey. But the other point that I make here is that the nice thing for me with this sort of trading is I'm still active because I'm always looking for fresh entries or add-ins into a trade, but I can still make the same gains that I would otherwise make from taking more frequent vanilla trades, normal standardized trades, as opposed to these ones that I can get into and add in. So at the end result perspective, I can make just as much from this type of trading than getting in and adding into positions than taking smaller time frame types of trades. So I can still get to the end result. It's just how you go about getting to your end result. And so my point is that I look at what the masses are doing out there. The masses a lot of them want to be doing short-term trading. So I'm going to look at the other way and decide, right, okay, I don't want to do what the masses are doing because I know that 80% of those masses are losing money. And I know what they're doing, that's for sure. So I'll look at the things to do which the masses find too uncomfortable, because it's uncomfortable at times holding on to a trade and holding through the pullbacks through a trade and all of that, and that's not always easy. It's not always easy adding in. Emotionally, for a lot of traders, they can find that difficult to add in. So I'm going to take that road less traveled, and I find that mentally stimulating as well as just as profitable, like I said. So it all started around 2013, and where I started to see, from doing these trading challenges and seeing the differences and this is just down to my own style, of course, but seeing that the swing trading profits, although they come in fits and starts, the swing trading profits ended up being a larger portion of the overall profits, so than short-term sort of intraday type trading. So then you wrap into that lifestyle and not having to be glued to the screens in quite the same way, and making and looking for fresh trades all of the time. Whereas what I'm doing is taking a big picture snapshot and then looking to trade within that big picture snapshot. For me, when I'm doing everything else that I have to do, it does make it easier for me. So there you go. So it's a little bit about some of my biggest ever trades. So certainly that Dow or S&P, whatever it was back then, was the first really chunky one. And then there were others as the years went on. There was others in dollar yen and stuff. But the main point is that it was like a mindset switch from being in and out more often, and I still do, even to this day, I will still have shorter term trades, but to realizing that you can run trades, it's a completely different concept, and add into trades and be just as profitable, if not more profitable, than with short-term trading. There you go, just some thoughts there for Saturday's video. Take care for now, have a lovely weekend.